I got something to ask you as a woman. Why don't women ever speak up to how badly feminists act? Given that most women out there think they're cringy and they're arrogant and obnoxious, and they speak for you women, they're on morning shows, they keep pushing the girl power, the empowerment. Why do they ignore it?
Whenever you talk about this topic, I go kind of blank. I feel like it's like a political topic I don't really know much about. When I lived in Holland, I wasn't really familiar with feminism or anything like that. It only really happened when I got to know you and I started watching. It's kind of the same as like when we talked about Passport Bros. Like I only kind of got to know the red pill since I met you. And it's kind of the same thing with feminism. Yeah, I have a few ideas. I think it's probably because like with me, like I don't really see feminism around me. And I think for women who aren't really in it or who aren't really confronted with feminists, they might see it on TV or they might know about it, but they won't necessarily say something about it because it's not in their lives.
Do you think that women generally live in their immediate surroundings and they don't care about much outside of it? They can't see the consequences of themselves or society, whereas guys can kind of like, they relate to the external world much more. And so if you're fine, you don't agree with feminism, you just kind of ignore feminism around you because it's not in your life.
Yeah, I think it's just like with things on the news. Like if it's not in your direct life, then you don't really, why would you stand up for anything? If you have feminists around you, but you don't agree with it, then I think women probably don't really speak up because they're afraid of women.
I was going to say that, do you think most women, reasonable women, are afraid of those pushy, bossy women that get up and are obnoxious and they're on TV and they look like they have positions of power? Do you think that they're afraid of those women?
Yeah, I think it's probably because women, when they're passionate about something, they can be very loud. So I think if women don't agree with other women, they won't necessarily say something.
Because my problem is that the modern woman sees men as the problem. So we can't actually try and fix anything. It's very hard to have a conversation to get men and women to cooperate again because we're the enemy. And if women won't do it, if women don't correct their own behavior of other women, we can't. We're the enemy, right? So we're mansplaining. If we try and find a solution or give suggestions or be part of the conversation, unless guys are talking in a feminist rule book, we're seen as part of the patriarchy, old-fashioned, we want to dominate. So we can't fix it. And if women don't fix it within their own groups, I don't see how it can be corrected.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to come from women.
It's very hard for it to come from men. So how is it going to happen?
Yeah, because I think there's also the aspect of women kind of sticking together. And maybe even if women don't agree with feminists per se, because they're women, they might not go against them, go out of their way to go against them.
But I find that so weird because women will fight for the rights of everything else in the world, from baby seals to the environment to even men from other countries and cultures that treat their women really badly, but they really find their own men who are the nicest men on the planet, probably in the West. They treat them like the enemy, like they're the worst kind of men in the world.
Yeah, I also think there's probably a difference between feminism and hating men. Well, they kind of go hand in hand now, but I think maybe a reason why women don't really speak out against it maybe is also because they do agree with a part of feminism where women can be more independent, but they don't necessarily agree with the way women are going about it or women hating men. So it's kind of like, they agree in part, but not necessarily entirely.
But it's only getting worse and worse for women out there. And if they won't speak up against these bullies, it's basically the most obnoxious women are the ones that are speaking for women and ruling the social sphere. And if women don't do it, I can't see how it's going to get fixed quickly or at all.
I don't think women are going to do it.
So basically it's just going to continue until...
I think it's going to continue until something drastically changes or stops them.
Like,
'Cause
what, a war or something?
I don't know.
It's so stupid. Like they don't care about their own futures and the future of their daughters and stuff. They think that no, my daughter's going to become a successful entrepreneur. Do they really think that their happiness lies in working and careers so
I
much?
think time might stop it eventually because you can already see now women who were feminists before, they're kind of like backtracking now and seeing the reality of the situation. So maybe over time we'll see more and more of those women. I'm not sure.
I don't really see many of them speaking out. Many popular ones, they just popularize the young, outspoken, arrogant.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We only see what we see on the internet is not the whole world. So we've got certain YouTubers who are speaking out against feminism now, but we only see them. We don't know how many women in the world have actually changed their mind about being a feminist. I think the main reason, and I don't know, because I'm not very social and I don't have experience with this and whatever. I just learned all of this via YouTube, right, about feminism. So I think the reason probably why women aren't really speaking up against feminism when they encounter it in real life is just because they don't want the confrontation. Because I've noticed this as well. Like I haven't noticed it much here, but at my work, I've had a few times where another teacher, female teacher, has said something that would be kind of feminist talk, and I just ignore it and I don't say anything purely because I'm not gonna get into a confrontation with her, and then it's not worth it to me, you know. So I think, but for other women, they might not want to get into it because they don't want to fight and have that whole, conversation.
It just made me think, I think both genders, we're afraid of women's confrontation. Like women are afraid of another woman's anger and men are afraid of their woman's anger. So just everyone is afraid of women. So if you get a woman who's really ballsy and bitchy and she's aggressive, a nice woman or man is afraid of her.
Yeah, but it makes sense, babe. When I see those videos on YouTube with those feminists and the blue hair and them going crazy, it makes complete sense that women wouldn't want to go against them. I think that's the main reason. They just don't want the confrontation.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it makes it worse because women kind of like watching drama too. And so they give these drama queens a free pass because it's not that serious. Whereas, and also guys are used to confronting each other, calling out bullshit. Whereas with emotional women, it's kind of like you can't reason with a crazy woman, like get away from her. Like you just don't go near her. She's like a hot stove. Like you just don't want to touch her, you know?
I just don't like that they kind of equate feminism with independence. I don't like that because I really like independence because I was raised like that. But I don't like the man hating, and feminism seems to be a little bit of both. But then I wish it was split because I obviously don't like the man hating part of it. I think that's ridiculous and not needed at all.
Well, I think there's a lot of words now that you associate with certain things. We talked before about submission, right? Or independence. Even the word independence, you automatically, if you think about an independent woman, what comes to your mind when you hear the phrase strong, independent woman? What do you think of?
Now it's different. Now I think when I hear that, I think of the American woman who wants to be independent and be like, make a lot of money, have her own career. But then usually it really influences her relationship with men.
Yep.
But that's only since I've known you and since I started watching all the YouTube videos. But before that, independence to me meant something completely different because I was raised in Holland, yes, to be able to take care of myself and go to school, get an education and, be able to have a job and sustain myself and everything. And that's obviously really good for me to be able to do that. But then also, we don't have that man-hating part. I mean, like in Holland, it's very normal for a woman to be able to sustain herself, but then also, like in her mid-20s or early 30s or whatever, find someone to be with and then get married and have kids, and then it becomes a bit more traditional. So I feel like in Holland, we kind of have both. Like we as women were able to be independent, but then it's also very normal to have a traditional family. And then we just split everything like it should be, like fair. But we don't have that, at least in my experience in Holland, we don't have that man-hating part that America has, which is really, really strange. So, so for me, independence means something completely different than what I see on YouTube.
I must admit, when I first started talking to you, and you talked about how you're independent. I'm a very independent woman. My first thing was like the American version of a strong, independent, feminist leaning kind of woman. I had to clarify what you meant, because your version of independence is responsibility. Leave me alone. I want to take full responsibility and be autonomous in my life and pay my own bills. And if I do something that's objectively dangerous and I fall on my face, yeah, it was me. I chose to do that. I have an independent choice, and I also face the consequences. I don't blame men or the system or the patriarchy. Like, I want full, responsible independence.
Yeah, although what I see as I am independent when the situation calls for it. So when I've been single, I've been very independent, and then that's a very good trait to have, to be able to be independent. So what I mean is, yeah, what you said, I'm responsible. Like, I'm always able to, pay my bills, have a job, be responsible, all of those things. But I think the difference is maybe with some of those women is that they always want to be independent. And I don't have that, because now that I'm with you and we're living together and we're married, I'm not independent anymore. I am in many ways very dependent on you now. Like, we live together and I'm in Australia, and, even though I work, like, I don't drive, so I'm dependent on you for transport. Like, I could go with the train, but like, if you were gone one day, I would really have to like figure out a lot of stuff. Like, I depend on you for a lot of stuff now, And I think that's the difference. Like, I am good with being independent when the situation and the circumstances call for it. Like, if something were to happen, I'm always able to take care of myself and get a job. But if I'm in a relationship with someone I love, I am very happily dependent. Like, we're both dependent on each other in that scenario. And that's where I adapt to the situation, because I can't be like completely 100% independent while being married to you. That would be stupid.
Yeah, I feel like the American version is this: I want to remain a free, single, forever dating, keep my options open, single person all my life. And it doesn't matter how old I get, I always want to be young and single somehow all the time and have every option available to me. That's what true independence and freedom seems to be for the modern woman, rather than like you choose. If you're going to choose something like a committed relationship, you cut off other choices, but you're glad to pay that price because you get so much more. You can't just have the world all the time and you get everything. You give up some independence. Like, we're codependent, but we have a lot of we don't change each other. We're not asked to change who we are. And I think the version of the strong, independent female cliche is the woman who does nothing, answers to no one, gets everything, gives nothing, arrogant, don't tell me what to do, and nothing's ever my fault, and I'm never responsible for everything because I'm perfect. Let me ask you this. Do you think women cause their own unhappiness in relationships now? Or do you think men, I know both have a part to play, but who do you think is more at fault for causing this bad dynamic between the sexes?
Well, first of all, I have to say I don't know much about this, and I'm just kind of guessing, and this is just kind of my opinion based on what I see on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not an expert or anything on this. The women started with feminism, and then feminism made men more insecure and weaker and more unattractive to women. And then because the men changed like that, women aren't attracted to them anymore. So it's like a circle that, like, it just keeps snowballing.
Women aren't attracted to the men they created.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't see how it'll be fixed. Like, for instance, I can't get you to respect me if I'm always putting you down. If I want you to respect me and treat me well, I can't keep kicking you and ask you to respect me and treat me well freely. And I think women are doing that and pretending that just because men biologically are attracted to women and they love women, they're hardwired to love women, that no matter how much you kick a dog, the dog will always love you. Men really want to love women, but they're so afraid of them, but it's just too dangerous. And now women have created those guys, and there's this loop where they want men to be tough, but it's so dangerous for men to be tough and masculine, Everything is censored. So like you don't get them.
But I don't even understand where this man-hating part of feminism comes from. Because I can kind of maybe understand why there's such a thing as feminism. If you want like more equality, I don't know. I don't know much about that at all.
They sold it. They sold it to women. You can buy stuff. You can shop. You can have your own money. You don't have to depend on the man. You can get your own shopping money, and you can buy your own house and car. Like you can get basically the women's materialistic instinct. They sold it to women that you don't have to rely on the man. You can get it all for yourself. You can get it all. You don't have to share it with anyone.
So is it the fault of advertising then?
Advertising convinced women, and women went towards it.
But I still don't understand why you can't just make a career for yourself, have more money, buy more stuff. Sure. But you can do that anyway. But why do you also have to bring in hating men? Because I, in Holland, have lived very independently, you know, and I have always had jobs and I had my own money and I could buy if I wanted to buy something, I could get it for myself. But I've never hated men. Like if you choose to work as a woman and have a career and make your own money, you can do that while you hate men or while you don't hate men. Why do you need to also hate men? I don't get that part.
Well, from a woman's point of view, if you see a woman on stage calm and talking about career and independence and being secure, I think that's less attractive to women than an arrogant, like,
fuck men.
Like, that drama. Think of the reality TV woman, the obnoxious one that's got a lot of money. She's entertaining to women. The advertising has kept sucking women in for nearly more than half a century. We're approaching nearly 80 years of full-on Western feminism. Is just getting worse and worse and worse. Women won't let up. You have to tiptoe around their emotions and their feelings and all of this sort of stuff. The woke community is controlling the narrative. How do you get them to be reasonable and pull back? They've got all the power. They censor everything. How do you get them to just, can we just have a fair conversation for your own good so you can take a step back from all your frustrations and unhappiness? Like, be a little bit less angry. They won't let go of their authority.
Yeah, but with some things, people need to walk into a wall and learn their lesson before they can change. Or as I said, over time, things will change or something big needs to happen that will make them have to change.
The scary thing, though, is that the naive young idiots, the loud, obnoxious ones, they're the ones that have the popular channels and voices. And when they walk into a wall, they're not popular anymore. Someone else who hasn't walked into a wall becomes the next popular thing. And so then you never learn the lesson. So women just keep seeing arrogant, obnoxious people succeeding. By the time they hit the wall, they're invisible. No one cares about them. You don't hear about them anymore. So there's never a consciousness that's like, ooh, we went too far. We just keep going further and further because we just keep watching people who haven't hit a wall yet. And when they have, we don't want to watch them anymore. We don't want to see them reflecting and calming down and having a simpler life and being less entertaining. We want to watch the entertaining reality TV, bimbo, loud, arguing podcasts and girl power, bossy bullshit.
Well, I've always thought it was really sad because men are basically like half of the population on Earth. I know there are more women than men, but
yeah, there are more women than men.
And it's like a very toxic mindset to walk around with every day, like this hatred towards men. It's really not healthy, and it's also really sad. So it's a really negative indoctrination that has been happening with women, I think. I do have to say, if I were confronted in a situation where, like, if there's like a feminist or whatever, and she's just like saying dumb shit, I'll just ignore it. But if there is someone there that I feel I need to speak up for or I need to defend, then I will speak up. Like if a woman says something toward you, or if I'm with a small group of people and a woman is talking negatively or insulting a man or whatever, like I'll make it known that I don't like what's going on here because I am pretty direct.
But see, that's sort of like, that's important. Like, if they're saying something negative towards you or the person or someone there, but if they say something negative about an idea or society, I get a feeling that women let it slide, whereas men we're kind of connected to the world and like what is right and what is wrong. So if someone says something that's bullshit about science or math or life in general, we'll call them out. Whereas women are really just, they'll tend to stand up more for if you insult them personally or a person in this room. But if it's about general life, if they talk shit about men and women, it's like, who cares? Because you're not talking about me. It's not offending me.
I can imagine that would be the case for women in general. So the reason why I don't necessarily say something is because I just don't care. Like, I'm not interested. But that's because I'm really not social at all. And I don't want to say something because then I'm going to start a conversation with someone and like I'm not interested in them or what they're saying. So that's why I don't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not because I'm afraid. Because let's say
it's a battle you don't need to fight. You don't.
yeah. But if we're like having dinner with a group of people and I'm feeling a bit more social and I want to have conversations with someone. If then a woman were to start saying something feminist-like, I'll go into the conversation and I'll disagree with her and go into a discussion, you know? So I'm not afraid of women in that way at all.
Okay, so summing up, the main question is like, for me, is like, why don't women ever call out obnoxious, rude women who tend to be more feminist inclined? Why don't women in public call her out?
I think it's either because they're kind of afraid and they don't want to start the confrontation, or they don't really care because it's not really in their direct environment.
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of those.
Yeah, and women will, but then again, I keep coming back to,
Oh, there's another one. Sorry.
What?
It could also be that they're maybe in that friend group and they might disagree, but they don't say anything because then they'll be kicked out of the group. That might be another reason.
Yeah, so it's all very personal to a woman, isn't it? But again, I come back to why are they get up on a podium and it's like, oh, the environment, save the seals on the other type of...
Because they don't talk back. They don't do anything back.
So they can be passionate about something that's not going to hurt them in this moment. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So that's what frustrates me. They will care about everything around the world, even men on the other side of the planet in a culture that's so barbaric that if you were a woman in her culture, he would like beat you. But your own men, you hate them so much. That's what is really baffling to me. It's like you treat your men and you're afraid of your men and you hate your men the most. Yet they're some of the nicest men in the West, like overly nice and very, very feminine. They're not even like, you got nothing to fear from them, yet you fear them the most.
Yeah, I don't think they really fear them though. I feel like it's a very unfortunate indoctrination that's happened, and now I feel like it's kind of like a trend.
You know what I think it is? They make up the fear from the past of feminism and stuff, like women won the right to vote, and they're kind of holding on to this, but we need to hate our men because we're in control now. They like the power, being in control, and they pretend to say, well, if we start cooperating, they could dominate us and we would lose all our freedom.
I don't think women believe that. I think women kind of want to they try to believe it because they want to be in this trend. But I think women know that men aren't dangerous or trying to like
so why do they
overthrow
keep
them.
Going on with the bullshit as though men are one step away from kind of dominating this culture and making women subservient again?
I think it's the same thing where, not to get into a different topic, but when there are people who can't answer the question, what is a woman, or who doesn't believe there are two sexes and that kind of thing. I think they talk all of that stuff. They talk about all of those things, but deep down they know the truth. I think it's the same thing with feminism,
where they're beholden to their group and church so much that they can't have an objective conversation outside of it, because if they talk against their identity belief in their group, like feminism or whatever, or their religion, if they start questioning it, then their own group will turn against them.
I think there are probably a lot of people that see this stuff like entertainment like I do. Well, it's sad, but like,
I think it's easier to be less afraid of them when you feel like you're not in their group, like you're not close to them anymore. Like you find a partner, you're happier, like you move away from the fight in their circle, like the fight against men and women. You move away from that dumb battle in society, in the popular social media sphere. You find happiness in your own world, with or without someone, then you're less afraid, then you can be more honest. But I think
Yeah.
most of society is in that argument, in that little room. And it's very hard because the loudest, most powerful people are the woke, loud, feminist kind of people. It's only if you have the courage to kind of step away from it or your life is better, then you can start speaking up.
I do feel like women in the West who are surrounded by those types of women, they should be speaking like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, because I just said I don't really care. But if I were confronted with them, I would speak up for the men around in my life that I love, you know, or even a stranger. So, but I'm not surrounded by those people. But I feel like in the West, because they're always in that environment, I would expect them to speak up more.
No,
But then
because
they don't.
women think their friends, their sisterhood, which is their friends, and they can identify with them because they're women like me,
We're right.
and we support each other. And the only reason we're unhappy is because of these guys. That's the narrative.
Yeah, but I'm also saying it because normal women
But that's
in
normal
the
women in the
West.
West.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I think I don't know how big that group is because the US is very big.
They're the loudest.
They're the loudest group.
And they're the ones that are given all airplay, and they're the ones who speak for all women, and
Yeah.
they're the ones who direct all policies for women.
Yeah, but I actually don't believe that's like the biggest group of women. I don't believe that many women in America actually think like that and are feminists. But what I was gonna say earlier is because there are like normal women who don't hate men in America. Like I can imagine that they would get really angry or upset about it because the feminists are changing men. They're changing the way men are, you know? And then normal women, when they want to date, they're now also having problems dating men because they are changed by the feminists.
Sure, but they can't see the cause and effect. Women are used to never taking responsibility. So even if they're causing this to happen, they're look, no, it's not my fault.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the normal women are now also paying the price for the feminist behavior because they're changing the men that they now want to date.
Sure.
And they're good women.
Yeah.
But now the men don't know who to trust anymore.
Sure.
So that's sad.
But at the end of the day, still, if that silent majority still won't do anything,
Yeah, I get it.
what do you do? Like men can't do anything and the women aren't going to do anything. If women aren't selfishly interested enough in their own immediate future, in the happiness of their own daughters, in the next generation, we're like, yeah, we'll just let things go. Oh, well, hopefully my daughter's life will be better, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to speak up. It's like, well, okay, you don't care about your daughter. You don't care about your own future. Like, what can you do? Like, I can't care more about women than women.
That's a good point.
It boils down to the people who disagree. You cannot ignore behavior that's stupid and just roll your eyes, because you can kind of go, oh, there's a 5-year-old, kids. And you ignore kids are kids, but these are adults. You can't say, kids in charge that are 28 years old that are ruling the society. What do? They're driving Lamborghinis. They're earning $20 million a year on OnlyFans. If you kind of go, well, roll your eyes, what do? They're the adults. They're running the show. They're causing the effect of the quality of your life out there. The entertainment you watch, everything's woke. Like, you can't just say, what do?
I don't think women themselves are gonna just,
oh, we've realized and we've
Yeah.
reflected on the situation, and let's just all stop and be better.
I don't think that's gonna
I
happen.
think it's just going to slowly over time, women are going to start looking foolish when there's just like a sea of angry cat ladies with nothing to show for themselves. And then they'll see a few of these women that don't buy into it. And like, yeah, I don't care about your whining and whinging. I'm happy with my husband, or I'm happy with my girl, or I'm happy on my own, but I don't buy into your anger. And they just see these women who are genuinely happy, and they look at themselves and going, oh, they've got a great life.
You know what it is? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Because the thing women want to do with feminism is they want to work and make their own money, but you can do that. You don't have to hate men in order to do that. So I don't get the whole movement.
I don't think they're real entrepreneurs, like with that brittle attitude where you think like your money will disappear if I love a man. It's like, how brittle are you as a person? You're not really confident. Like, you're not a successful, strong-minded person that if I just love someone, it's all going to go away. Or I won't be a billionaire. I won't be a powerful, independent person if I care about someone.
Yeah, but even if you are kind of like a career woman and and you want to have your career and you still want to have a relationship, like you can find someone and have kind of like a 50-50 relationship or more of an equal relationship, you know? Like there are all sorts of different relationships, but even then you don't have to hate men in order to do that. So
Well-
that part is completely on you. That's like your choice. You're choosing to hate men.
In conclusion, women don't stand up to rude, obnoxious Western women because the men and women are both afraid of them. And it's not going to change anytime soon.
Afraid or not interested. I
Or
would
not
say.
interested. How do we end this? All right, you do it.
That's what you always see. Oh no, I hate that. That is cheesy.
You just did it.
Yeah, but we're still going.
Yeah, but I'm going to include that.
Oh yeah? But then you have to include this too.
No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to make you look bad. All right, bye.
Bye.